Good afternoon and welcome to the Joy Show. I'm Barbara Jean, your host. And the Joy Show is all about the authentic self, who you are, how you got there, and what you love. Joy meaning, it's an acronym that means just one you. You've been created unique and special, and we love to explore that here. So let us begin with the land acknowledgement, and then we'll get to my very special guest. So I am honored that we are meeting on this land that many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people from across Turtle Island call home. We acknowledge and thank the original caretakers and knowledge keepers of this territory. The Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat. We also give thanks to other Indigenous peoples, recorded and unrecorded, who have shared responsibility for this territory. In honoring the Dish with One Spoon Treaty, which protects this territory, we accept our responsibility to peaceably share and care for the resources that surround us. We also acknowledge, as inhabitants of these lands, that inequity and discrimination continue to affect our BIPOC and our 2S LGBTQ plus family. And so we therefore strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation. Recognizing our ultimate oneness and acknowledging our reality, past and present, we commit to moving forward in a spiritual spirit of mutual cooperation. We believe that we are one. All righty. Well, on with the show. I am delighted to have a remarkable woman with me today. Zoey Adams is an actor, a writer, a brilliant being, somebody who really has done a lot of work: theater, radio, television, film, comedy, improv, corporate entertainment. Take a breath. She's a writer, a playwright, a children's author, a director, and recently has taken up painting as a hobby. And she's the mother of an amazing daughter and grandmother of 3. Welcome, welcome, Zoey. I'm so delighted that you're here today.
I sound very, very busy, don't I?
You certainly do. So tell me a little bit about your path to becoming an actor, a writer. You're doing a little bit of everything there. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, it's interesting. I guess to go right back to the beginning, I'm one of 8 siblings, the oldest girl, and grew up in a very extroverted, fun family. All of us interested in music, and all of us way too dramatic for our own good. Pretty much everyone in the family has some kind of hand in performance at some point. And I guess I was one of the trailblazers for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always, growing up, I always wanted to be a teacher or perhaps a lawyer or perhaps an actor. And then I thought it came down to, well, an actor's really all of those things.
Yes.
And when I did have an opportunity to do some teaching, I found that my skills as an actor were far more important than anything else I could learn or impart. And so I've come to the conclusion that it's all about people skills. And honing your people skills will take you anywhere, not just as an actor, just as a person.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it's interesting to watch as we interact with each other how a positive, life affirming attitude tends to be a lot more engaging than when the attitude is negative or confrontational. That sort of pushes
And
people away.
that's quite true about performance too, because
Mhm.
there is, particularly in something like improvisation, there's the yes and, like you accept and you move forward from there.
Mhm.
And that's sort of been that's a natural impulse for me. I'm fortunate in that way.
Yeah. I have great fun with my husband, who is also a performer and good at improv and stuff. Just to get his goat every now and again, he'll start something and I'll go, no, just for fun.
Mm,
Which, of course, in improv would stop the scene
yeah,
right there,
yeah.
which is my plan. I just it's funny when you've been with somebody a long time, you find little ways of niggling out that is humorous, right? It just
Well, knowing Pierre, I know he can handle that. He
yes,
does not know the meaning of the word "non" in either French or English.
I think it's pretty much the same. No, no.
No.
It's yeah, it's funny, but I think when we're journeying along, we were talking right before we started here about how we're kind of conditioned to go through our school years and then get out and go to university and get a degree and spend a lot of money and hopefully find something that we love to do. But is it reasonable to expect a teenager to know exactly what they want to do for the rest of their lives, which could easily be another 80 years?
Yeah, yeah. Now, so, some kids are different. Some
Mhm.
kids know from the beginning what they want to do, but it's very true. Those years, 16 to 20, and nowadays, even a little beyond,
Yeah,
they really, it's a different world. There's a lot to take in, and they have to discover who they are to be able to move forward, not just what they're interested in.
yeah, but who they are as people.
Yeah. And realize the fact that at any point in life,
Mhm.
you can change your mind totally.
Isn't that the best part?
And
I
you
love
can take a completely different path. And that might be the one. How many times do you hear about people who just got up one day and decided they weren't going to be that and they were going to be the thing that they always wanted to be, but only just now discovered it? I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me.
Well, and that's the thing, and I've heard that of so many people, and I wonder if part of the part of the reason it takes us so long to figure out what it is we really love is because we've been listening to outside forces going, you have to work hard to earn a living. And
Yeah.
so you have to find the job that pays the best so that you can, like, we've put a lot of emphasis on earning money rather than working for the pleasure of creating. And what
Yeah.
I love about what you do and my husband does, well, and what I do too, is it's about creating something new or something different or
Yeah.
coming at it from a different vantage point, but it's all about
Absolutely.
creation.
We're very fortunate to be able to do that.
Hmm.
It's I keep coming back to it. I mean, I have these three grandchildren who are just my world. They live on Vancouver Island,
Hmm.
and it's watching them. Like my oldest granddaughter, it just turned 23,
Okay.
and she has traveled a fair amount. She's been studying as she goes, but she's in no hurry to get a degree. But
Mhm.
I've watched her evolve as a person tremendously through her travel and through the varied interests she's had traveling and the people that she's met. And she's doing this all on the cheap, of course, but
Of course.
nowadays if kids can get a job that pays them enough to save up and then do something to find out who they are, those are the lucky ones.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. I think allowing our children to understand that they are unique and special, that there's something about them that is unique to them, that
Yeah.
what they're passionate about actually matters. Because I think sometimes we ignore youth a little bit, thinking, well, what do they know? They're just young. But I
Yeah.
think they know a whole lot more than maybe what the older generation have, sort of agreed to or accepted from them. So I think there's much for us adults to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree totally on that one. And they're out there to teach us.
If we will listen, yes, they are.
Well, that's one thing about becoming a grandmother. And I keep coming back to that. It's like day one of a whole new life.
Yeah, it is.
Like the child is born and the child births you as a grandparent. And suddenly you've got that role, you've got that responsibility, that joy,
Yeah, it's different.
and you discover it as that child is discovering their life. You're discovering something completely new about yourself, too.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
something really fun about grandchildren because, of course, we don't have the responsibilities with them that we had with our children.
I
The
suppose I feel like I take that on. I don't need to, but
yeah,
I feel like I was like that with my child as well.
mhm.
You know, I just have the one daughter, but boy, that was, the biggest gift ever to have her. And she's put me through, but she and I have both come out the other end as very good friends and allies and support. And,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
parenting
I'm
is
her biggest
wonderful.
fan.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it can be. It's very, very satisfying.
and the hardest job you'll ever do.
Yeah. I'm the happiest in
The
some
happiest.
ways. I mean, there's nothing like being proud of your kids,
Well,
unless
that
it's being proud of your grandkids.
yeah, well, there's that too.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know I have, 2 grandchildren. They're 25 and 23, and, a great-grandson who's 7.
Oh my God. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's great, like, we've had the good fortune of having our great-grandson come stay with us a couple times, while my daughter's off going to Rome or wherever she was going. We had a couple of trips last year where they were away, and so
Oh,
we got to have him with us, and it was great fun, exhausting.
what do they call you? What does he call you?
Nana.
The great grandson as well?
Yes,
You
yeah,
don't
well,
get Super Nana or something?
no, he likes to call me Nana Barbie
Oh yeah, that's good. That's hot
because
these days.
because Barbie's not
Yeah,
my favorite
Barbie's big.
nickname, but when he heard it, he was like, "Yeah, Nana Barbie and Grandpapa." Yeah, so, um, yeah, it's I think, being grandparents, so there's also the level of responsibility there for me is I want a world that is gonna be around when my grandchildren and great-grandchildren are, adults and are able to create their lives. Are we creating a world that actually is going to support and sustain the well-being of future generations? And right now, there's some question about
It's
that given
terrifying, really.
some of our habits, some of the things we've done.
Yeah.
And for me, it's important to begin to work on all of those things at every level that we can personally, because I can only personally look after the way I choose to live.
Mhm.
And if I can do something that has a positive impact on the world and humanity, my hope is somebody will model what I'm doing and, we'll end up creating a lot more people who are working towards creating something better, whether
Mhm.
it's US or Canada. But I think, well, the world at large for that matter, because there's just so much to think about and how we raise our children and how we, allow them to find their own path is also a really important part of that, I think.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough world for these kids coming up, and we have to do whatever we can to make it easier for them.
Yeah, or at least learn how to listen to them.
Well, that's to me that's taken. That's a given.
I wish it was on the masses, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think listening to each other is a really big part of that and respecting each one as we've grown and where we've gotten to, right? It's how do we do all that? So tell me about any projects you're working on right now that you find fun or interesting, or even things you're planning.
Well, my world is pretty crazy and very busy and extremely eclectic.
Hmm.
Um, about every few years, I feel like I need to totally reinvent myself for some reason and see what else there is out there.
Yeah.
So, in my career, I've gone from theater. In fact, going from theater in the sense of when I first started out in theater, I was in England and I was working there as your basic classical ingenue.
Hmm.
And that sort of evolved into uh, comedy
Right.
and then comedy and music, and then comedy, music, and improv.
Right.
I mean, I literally, have done so many versions of the same thing. It all comes from the same place, from this creative place. But I've evolved from, well, what I'm working on right now mostly is songwriting.
Okay. Okay.
And songwriting with a multi-talented, brilliant man by the name of Tony Quarrington, who is a jazz guitarist and one of the top people in Canada. I'm
Yeah.
very fortunate to be working with Tony, but he's like, we share a brain almost,
Yeah.
we think alike, we read each other's minds, we can move forward in the same direction so easily. We've created almost 200 original songs so far,
Wow.
and we've barely scraped the surface. The problem with us is that we spend so much time on the creative, we don't spend enough time on the marketing of it. So we're going to be the world's best kept secret. But in spite of ourselves, we do have, some visibility now, a little bit, and it's not our main focus.
Yeah.
But that's a function of, not being 25 and needing to, make a lot of money to get by.
Yeah. That makes a difference.
It does make a
So,
difference. So
what's the theme of your music? Like, what type of songs are you writing?
we're kind of all over the place. It's jazz, it's folk, it's roots, anything from uh, comedy songs, almost cabaret feeling songs,
Yeah.
to my heart was sadly shriveled by the wear and tear of life. Just getting through the day was constant doom and gloom and strife. Life ladders up a heart and leaves it tattered and forlorn. You came, you saw, and now voila, my heart has been reborn. Come,
Awesome.
you revived my rumpled little lump of a heart. You revived my crumpled little lump of a heart. You dusted it, decrusted it. I must admit it's true. The way you polished it, by golly, it's brand spanking new. You revived my grumpy little lump of a heart. You contrived to renovate it right from the start.
Nice.
That song was written for my youngest granddaughter.
Oh, beautiful.
She's a rumpled little lump. That's what I always call her. She My daughter lets her, when she was little, would let her dress however she wanted.
Yeah.
And she used to get dressed from her costume trunk
Of
every day.
course. Yeah.
Couldn't wait to see what she was going to walk in the room wearing. It was very often a lion costume that got to be so small on her that it was giving her an atomic wedgie in the end. And Miranda, my daughter, had to go out and get a bigger one for her because she refused to give it up. But yeah, she's the rumpled little lump.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So the music just goes wherever, and then you play clubs around town, or
We do. Tony and I actually we called ourselves Paper Moon for a while, and we did, and we still are doing this a little bit. We did sort of the American Songbook, 30s, 40s, 50s,
yeah,
great songs, and we would do them for seniors, for um, the seniors' homes, and my goodness, we went to over 100 of them in the city regularly.
wow,
And we would do hospitals and clubs and restaurants and, the gamut, corporate gigs as well. And, I had such a history of being able to write song parodies for gigs all the time. I'd 4 people in a boardroom, 1,000 people in a ballroom, just go in and take over.
yeah, yeah.
And then when I started working with Tony, we started writing our own tunes as well. I mean, song parodies are one thing, but original tunes. Now, this is a very good album. While we're talking about it, I just saw Christmas Dream come up. I said to Tony, why don't we do a Christmas album? And he said, oh, great idea. So that was it. We just sat down and wrote, I don't know, what is it, 14 tunes. Anything you think about Christmas, there's a song on there for you. You love it, you hate it. There's all the songs are original, and all of the songs, I love it. I mean, I love that album. My family and extended family, it's part of their Christmas. When you're young and there's an album you put on whenever you start the Christmas, trimming or mood or whatever.
Yeah.
In my family's world, it's this album now.
Oh, I can't wait to listen to it.
I hope you'll enjoy it. I highly recommend it.
Well, I'm sure I will, and I'm looking forward to it. Pierre brought it home, but I have not listened to it yet. It's not Christmas.
It's not Christmas.
It's not Christmas, but I might just listen to it sooner than I planned.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun.
Oh, good. I love that when people find a way of putting their own personal creativity and love and passion into the season, because it really has gotten kind of like same old, same old, same old, same old, same old.
There's a song about that.
I love it. I love it. Because, yeah, I think having something new or different is wonderful. I mean, some of the old favorites are fabulous, but, Christmas music starts now because Halloween ended. So they are playing Christmas music.
I call that album a collection of future standards.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to check it out.
Yay.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. And your voice is stunning. You have a gorgeous voice.
Thank you. I never set out to be a singer.
Mm-hmm.
I would always tell people I'm an actress who can sell a song.
There you go.
An actress, I mean, being an actor is my wheelhouse. That is my wheelhouse. But that is a part of everything. I think everybody, like people in general, if they can find that little thing that belongs just to them,
yeah, we all have it,
and use that as the foundation of where you expand from, from that spot. If that's a true spot for you, then you're going to be the best, actor, doctor, garbage collector. Doesn't matter. You're going to be, if it comes from you, from that one little grain of truth.
Yep.
If you can find that, and to your point, that is your joy.
It is your joy. It is your joy. That's where your joy comes from.
Yeah.
Doing what you love to do. I hear from people a little too often. I'll ask them, what is it that you absolutely love, or what's your purpose? And they'll be, I don't know. And I go, you actually do know. I'm here to tell you, you do know. What I hear often is people sitting back and going, well, what I love, I can't earn a living at. And then I remind people about the pet rock. Somebody put a rock in a box and sold it. And
but it's true though that you can take, if you can find that center, if you can find your center, that then even if you're doing something that is not what you consider your passion, bring the passion of who you are to it,
to whatever you're doing.
Yes, and you can change that task, and you can change your effect on other people just by bringing your whole self.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Coming to everything with some gratitude for what you have or what you're creating.
And not just gratitude, but intention.
Mm-hmm.
In improv, like I have some original characters, and one in particular that I use as an example of what I'm talking about right now, is Caridad Consuela Álvarez Fernández Beatriz de la Cruz andando was too long, call me Chuchu. Mm-hmm. Chuchu andando. And Chuchu, she looks like Lucy, and she sounds like Ricardo. And she's, Chuchu can be thrown into any situation, and her intention is to be honest, open, happy, and inoffensive. Mm. So she can say anything and be anywhere, and people just eat it up because she has no harm in her. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think, but beyond that, I mean, all of us, any of us, to take in the intention to listen to people and to move on, in conjunction with people. You could be somebody that just answers the phone for a living. But if you answer the phone for a living and you bring yourself to it, you're going to have a much more successful and happy time of it.
Well, I think that's what people have missed sometimes, is they come to work that they don't love with an attitude of, I hate this, and then wonder why they can't be successful at it. Wow. And of course, that attitude prevents the success from occurring, which could happen if you brought a new attitude. Yeah. We're going to take a little commercial break here, and then we're going to be right back. So don't go away. You're watching The Joy Show here on the New Thought Media Network, and my wonderful guest, Zoey Adams. And we're going to be back in just a minute, so don't go away.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought.
Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
And we're back. You're watching The Joy Show here on the New Thought Media Network. And my guest, Zoey Adams, who's done all sorts of wonderful, creative, fabulous things and continues to even do more. When we were talking earlier, we were talking about the songs that you've been creating, but you've also created some audiobooks for children.
Yes. And it's interesting because when Olivia, my oldest granddaughter, was little, she had an imaginary friend, and his name was Rowan. And when when she was put to bed at night, she would want a story read to her, unless it was me. Then I would have to tell her a story. Make up a story, and it would be, once upon a time there was a little, and she would have to fill in that word.
Oh, perfect.
And a little window. It could be anything. It could be human. It could be an object. It could be anything. And his name was, and she would always say, Rowan. His name was Rowan. And then I would go on to make up this story about, and it would always have some kind of kid-centered lesson, or observation, or whatever. I mean, none of the stories were ever the same. I could never repeat any of the ones that I told her then, but I was kind of famous for it in the family. They'd say, "Oh, there she goes. It's going to be 40 minutes before she's back." It went on forever. And then at the end, it would be good night. And then along came her baby brother.
Yeah.
And she got to name him. And she named him, of course, Rowan. So I started writing the Rowan stories, and there's 2 volumes of these little 10-minute segments, stories, original stories. I do all the character voices and everything on them.
Yeah.
And I took this project on a school tour through the Toronto region. Just basically showing up. I was kid testing them at the time, and I'd just arrive at the school, knock on the principal's door, come in and talk them into booking me for, K to 6, really. And I would go in and do an author's visit. And I was very busy with this. It was just an impulse to take it in that direction.
Yeah.
Now, problem with that project was it turned into, as much as I was there just to read some stories and to talk to the kids, it became, being me, an exercise in the power of imagination and convincing kids that their imagination was the most important part of their world, because it's it's who they really are.
Yes.
To be able to be in touch with your imagination is going to, that is what makes you unique. I would tell them, this is why you are the only you
Yeah.
you can possibly be. That is your DNA,
Mhm.
and you should never give up your imagination. I would tell the kids in grade 5, and I mean, the stories might have been a little, they'd go, oh, it's going to be a kid's story. We're grade 5, like we're grade 6.
We're all grown up.
Come on. And I would tell, by the end of the session, they were convinced that they had to hang on to who they were and be true to themselves, not give up who they are to be, one of the crowd where they are all the same. What are you bringing to that? Don't give it up. Don't give up who you are to try to be like everybody else.
Yeah, it's interesting how that's been kind of the way it goes, is we're all striving for that mediocre place.
Yeah.
that place of, let me just downplay who I am so I can fit in.
That's right.
Where I'm not even comfortable, but at
That's
least
right.
I fit in. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a very strong message, as it turned out. And the kids, responded to it.
Mm-hmm. And they were.
There's more to be done on that project, actually. There's always more. But it's very satisfying to be able to take a creative idea and see it right through.
Yeah. That's true.
I used to go into the studio to record these stories, and the technicians, who were guys, and I guess in their 30s, probably, they'd know I was coming and they'd say, oh, it's a Rowan day. And they'd fight to go in and engineer it, and because they loved the stories and they loved the whole experience of doing it. They were like big kids. And they, when they weren't actually running the board, they'd be lying on the couch and listening to it. And it just, it was very touching.
Well, I think that's the fun of creating from our own unique storyline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like each one of us has our gifts and talents, our strengths and our weaknesses. And when we play to our strengths, we actually have this infinite capacity to create.
But here's what you must never do. You must never go into a project saying, I'm no good at that, or I can't do that, because you don't know.
You have no idea.
Who's judging this?
Yeah.
If you're your own judge, give yourself a break. Give yourself a chance.
Yeah, I think
please yourself, as much as you can. Please yourself. If it pleases you, it's got value.
Yeah. It has more value if it pleases you than if it pleases two other people, or even thousands of other people. If it doesn't please you,
it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. Yeah, not for you, for sure.
I find that, I woke up one day and decided I wanted to paint.
Mm-hmm.
I was told in school I had no talent for art whatsoever. Because what I did in an art class was not follow the rules. And it's not just that I woke up and said I wanted to paint. I decided I wanted to paint portraits. And people would say, you want to paint portraits? That's the hardest thing. And I'd say, what do you paint? And they'd say, landscapes. Or, I said, landscapes. That's the hardest thing. I see faces.
Mm-hmm.
And, for whatever talent I may or may not have, it's not grand. It's just interesting to me that I can capture people and I capture them through their eyes.
Of course.
And that, again, is probably a spin-off from all of the other, pay attention to how people listen to you. There are
Mhm.
so many clues in that,
It's true.
look people in the eye.
Yeah.
There's so much, and it's so easy if you can just be brave.
Yeah, I think that's it, using courage
Yeah.
rather than fear to move forward.
Most people are very approachable
Yes,
if
they
they know
are.
what they're dealing with, and if they know you, the real you.
Mm.
And I
Well,
always say, if they're not, well, maybe they're not your people.
oh, I agree with that completely. I think it's important that we show up as who we are and remove all the masks. The challenge is so many have worn so many masks for so long, they're not even sure who they really are at this point.
And
And
those are the people I feel sorry for, frankly.
yeah, those are the people that I'm hoping through the messaging of the various things I do will help anyone who's in that place to realize that they are unique and special, that they do have something of immense value, that they are essential to the unfolding of the universe right now. That
That
each
is
one
a great message and a really true message. I
of
couldn't
Mhm.
agree with you more.
Yeah, it's like finding that way of being so that I can live more authentically, like the real
And
out.
finding your people, because a lot of people do live in fear that they don't, that they might hear this message and they might not know how to make it real in their own life, like, which what's your first step, like, how do you even begin? But that's why I think a network like this, of people who can be open and be responsive to you is very important.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you can't take that, for if you're too fearful to take that first step, it's hard. For some people it's very hard, but you can do it, and you can do it right
Anybody
now.
can,
You can change your whole life right now.
right this second.
Right now.
Set an intention for something new and watch what happens.
Yep.
Yeah, it
And
changes.
congratulate yourself on all the little steps as you go along that you are achieving, and not look at the whole picture all at once and say, I'll never get there. You don't know what the journey is.
That's the most interesting part is you have no idea
Mm.
tomorrow brings. That's the exciting part, I
I
think.
don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Me either. Not sure I'll
But
ever
it's
grow
way
up.
too soon to worry about it, I always say.
Exactly, exactly. Well, that's the interesting thing is kind of finding a way to be wherever we are in life and to allow what is, got to accept it is what it is because what's been created is already done. So now what is one of my questions? It's like, here's where I find myself. Now what? Because I have this infinite capacity to create a new next moment.
That's right. That's right.
But it's coming out of my attitude. It's
Mhm.
coming out of my thinking where it's gonna go and how I'm going to approach it, right?
Yeah.
Because we can do anything.
Yeah, I always say, like, when I see something, it's like I'm one of these people who can look at an object, and I quite often don't see what it really is. I see what it could become.
Mhm.
What could we turn this into? Like things that other people might consider garbage or just useless. With a little imagination,
Yeah.
it's there are no limits on what people can do and people can be, and what you know how you can take your own uniqueness and make it work for you, and therefore for everybody else too.
Right. It's when I think when we're really living authentically and honestly, the things that we are doing are contributing to the collective. And when we're doing things that are a little bit harder or we're struggling with or we're not believing in, that's when we're kind of disempowering the whole, so to speak.
Mhm.
It's like energetically, our energy goes into the collective regardless. Are we adding to, uplifting or dragging down? Where are we at with our own thoughts and attitudes as we progress? And I think that's an important thing for each one of us to look at, because if we can come at it with some idea of joy or some sort of excitement about what we bring to the table and honor that, I think that's when everything begins to change for the better.
Yeah, and sometimes another way to look at it is it's not all about you. It's like
Hmm.
put your focus on the other person.
Hmm.
Like how can you make their world a little better? How can you be a better friend?
Yeah, and it usually comes from being a better self.
That's right. That's right. It will help you come out of yourself and actually be a better person for yourself.
Hmm.
Sometimes we're just so wrapped up in our own little world. You don't have to look any distance to see somebody who is in worse shape than you are. And look to where you can be a little bit of joy for someone else, you know?
There's so many opportunities for that. The raging drivers, I'm seeing more of those these days than I've seen ever in the past. But as I see them, I'm working on getting to a place of, just send them some love because obviously they
Mm,
need it at the
yeah.
moment. Like it's been remarkable, some of the things I've seen on the road. And, when you get over the shock of what somebody's just done, it's like, can I bless, or can I at least see this individual in a different light? Can I just
Yeah.
shine some love in that direction so that hopefully they wake up to how remarkable life really is and how it could be for them? I think there is a level of responsibility we all have in how we interact with one another.
Mhm.
And that's this year at Halloween, I don't know if you do Halloween at your house, but
Every
we
day is Halloween at my
every
house.
day's Halloween. Well, we had lots of fun this year. Pierre was giving out the candy, and Genevieve did for a while. I was sitting on the couch listening, and these little kids coming to the door were so polite, so gracious, so beautiful. It was really remarkable. Just they'd come to the door and trick or treat, and you'd open the door and give them something, and Pierre would say, well, choose any two you like, and they would take two and be so happy about it. And Genevieve shared, one little kid took two and gave one of them to her mom. Here, this one's for you and this one's for me. Genevieve says, because you've done that, here, have another one. And I think somebody else took three by mistake and came back and put one back. And then I'm talking to the woman who co-hosts with me on Wednesdays, and she said she had the same experience and she lives in another city. So
Hmm.
it's like energetically, we've got these pockets of grace and beauty that are just bubbling over, these little kids who are just so gracious and so thankful. And then we have drivers who are really angry
Yeah.
and acting out. And I'm going, there's there's something in our water these days that maybe needs a little filtering or something. We need to expand what the kids are doing so the adults catch it, so we
Yeah.
can create a greater sense of peace and harmony.
Well, a little, every once in a while, something will occur to me, like as just a personal challenge. And you just brought it to mind again. I should try it again. Um, just with the intention, going out the door of having within, the first hour of my day, a pay it forward moment,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know, to do something unasked for someone else that makes them happy.
Hmm.
Just a little personal challenge. I mean, I'd be out doing my 5K walk in the morning, and the first person I'll meet, for example, just make sure that you have an interaction with somebody that's going to make their day better
Hmm.
in whatever way that can be. And it makes you feel so great.
It really, I'll tell you, there's a greater gift to the doer than there is to the receiver, I'm
For
sure.
sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
I had fun with that. I'm always looking for ways to pay things forward or to do an act of kindness. And I was at a Tim Hortons drive-through grabbing something for Genevieve and decided I would pay for the vehicle behind me. Well, it happened to be cops. And I thought, well, the idea still came, so I'm still going to do it. I don't care if it's police officers. And as I'm driving away, I'm thinking, I'll bet nobody's ever done that for them before.
Yeah,
And I'm
they're
sure
probably wondering why you did it for them.
why.
What's she hiding?
Yeah. And what's interesting is because of that kindness, who knows what the rest of their shift was like.
That's right. That's right.
It changes everything. The very first time I ever did that at a Tim Hortons, which is going back, I don't know, probably 20 years, um, the people at Tim Hortons were like, do you know that person? No. Do you know what they're getting? No. But you're paying for them. Yeah. That is so nice. They went in there, hey, check this out, you guys. This lady, like you could see how the staff who didn't receive a gift, but somehow received the gift of the intention that was put forth, and they were having a better day as a result of this, buying a coffee for the person behind me. It's like, $2 or whatever. It wasn't a big deal, but it's funny the little things we can do that make a difference and how that makes us feel.
Yeah.
Now it makes energetically everybody around us starts to feel better as a result, which is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. If
Mhm.
you do something that makes you happy, but not to the detriment of someone else,
Exactly.
like it's all about doing as much good and as little harm as you can.
Mhm.
It's the payoff is magnificent. Like there's no better feeling than feeling good.
And we have it within us to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you never have, you can do it right now.
Well, I think that's the thing because you'll hear people talk about, well, but this terrible thing is happening, so how could I possibly be happy? And I think back to a story a friend of mine told many years ago. She's a nurse and she went to a Rwandan refugee camp to work for a month as a traveling nurse. And she said the horrors of it were unimaginable. But she said, here's the thing. She said, at the end of every day, the women would dance.
Yeah.
They had nothing.
Mm.
Maybe they no longer had their children with them, their spouses with them. Really everything was against them. They didn't have food, water, the ability to keep things clean, like nothing. And yet, at the end of the day, they would dance.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that spoke so loudly about the human desire for joy or to simply celebrate the one thing I do have, right? And it's like that is such a great message. If all of us could find a way to just, even in the midst of great hardship, find the thing in life that's actually good,
Mm-hmm.
because there will be something, and focus there and see how that changes everything you think and do and how you feel overall.
And share, talk to people.
Mhm.
Find like-minded people that can support you and that are going to build you up and not
Not
criticize and destroy you.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't criticize and destroy yourself.
Well, that's the easiest thing to do, isn't it?
I hear so many people talking about, oh, I'm such an idiot, or I'm so stupid, or I can't believe I did that. And, oh,
Well, it's okay once in a while to say things like that to yourself, so long as that's not where you stay. And if you can learn something from it, why not? But, you know, you've got to feed yourself with positive vibes and congratulate yourself when you do something well.
yeah, I think being proud of yourself is an important part of the
Yeah.
journey for sure.
Know your strength.
Knowing who you are and what you bring. Well, we're down to our last few minutes. And I always like to ask at the end, what is one thing that you would like people to take away from this conversation? What would be the most important thing you'd like them to remember or to do?
Well, I would say give yourself a chance, believe in yourself, and then prove yourself right.
Mm,
I mean, we have so much power
yes,
that
we
we're
do.
not aware of. We are nothing but power,
Mm,
really. So power yourself up for positivity
yeah,
and for goodness for yourself. It starts with yourself and then for others. But start with yourself.
yeah,
That's at the heart of it.
it is. And it's the one place where you actually have power. It's
You
the
have
place where
nothing but power.
exactly.
The power to destroy or to create.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
pick one.
Let's create something powerful that creates goodness in our
Yeah,
lives, in our
that's,
world.
who knows where it'll take you.
Exactly. Well, it's such a powerful message, and it's so important. And of course, using our imagination, we can imagine anything and we can make it our reality.
I believe that. I really do.
Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. And I, watch different people who have, come along and done amazing things. And always when you listen to the stories, there's always an intention and a willingness to be authentically, like take the power that they have in whatever area and share that with the world in a way that's loving and life giving. I think that's the big key is to share in that way where we're doing good because we're being good.
Mhm.
Not in the sense of I didn't have a beer last night, but more in the sense of I'm living my authentic self. I'm letting the real me be seen.
Mhm.
I think that's our
And let
that
your real self be seen and also see others.
you will always see others if you're
See
willing to be
others.
authentic. Authentic people tend to quickly see everybody around them, right?
Mhm.
It's beautiful to watch. There's
Mhm.
a couple of authors I've met, and one in particular stands out. Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the book, The Four Agreements. And of all of the authors I've met, and I've met many, he was the only one who, when I had a conversation with him afterward, was present, fully present with me in
Mhm.
that conversation, even though there were hundreds of people around for the conference. When we were in conversation, we were in conversation. It was
Mhm.
powerful.
Mhm.
So take the time, everybody. Listen to somebody who's actually chatting with you and enjoy. Zoe, thank you so much for being on the show today. You are
You, Barbara.
remarkable. And I can't wait to listen to your CD. I'm going to do that maybe even this afternoon.
Let me know what you think.
I will for sure. Thank you, everyone. You're watching The Joy Show here on the New Thought Media Network. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll be back again next week. So be sure to come on back. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Bye for now. Bye, Zoe.
Bye. Thank you.